Welcome back. I'm hoping this isn't your first time, but if it is, welcome. I'm more than happy to get to know you, meet you, and for those of you who are really trying to contact me, and it's kind of been overwhelming. I'll be honest with you. When I started making these videos, I didn't expect one human being to watch it. Okay. Luckily, I had some really awesome friends that were very supportive. Keep in mind, Facebook was really my only outlet, except for church, for quite some time, for at least a year. And a year ago on Facebook, I just disappeared. I deactivated it, I shut it down. That's really when I started doing my inner work and realized that I needed healing before I could have any relationship, not even just a romantic one, but a friendship or anything with anybody. I was so, I would say, messed up in my head, in my heart, in my soul. And I was able to recognize that, thankfully, and say, okay, there's some soul searching, some inner reflection that needs to be done here. And again, if you've watched my previous videos, you realize that most of this is because I decided to look, I can't fix anything else. I can't change anything that's happened, but I can learn from it and I can hopefully help somebody else learn from my own experience. But I had to stop blaming people. I had to start looking at my own flaws, and that's what I can fix. I can fix myself if I'm willing to work on it and try. So, therefore, a year later, almost to the date, which is really weird because it wasn't planned, almost to the day, a year later, I came back to Facebook, and some very dear, good old diehard friends were there, and they did say, I missed you. Where were you? What happened? And then they really watched my videos and have been great promoters of me. And through that, I've started to meet several of you. I have not been able to respond to everybody on a personal level. Like I said, it's overwhelming the amount of support that I have had, and I hope to get continued support. I hope to know more people even than my core group that I knew in the beginning, and continue to try my very best to keep up with all of the emails and messages and comments and everything that I'm getting from this. So please be patient with me, okay? But today, our topic is going to be stalkers. I know, hard to believe. She had stalkers? Yeah, I had stalkers. Anyone who knows me knows I'm the last person that's going to say I'm pretty or beautiful. I'm not a conceited or arrogant person whatsoever. But, I don't think I'm trash either. I don't think anybody actually is. So, we all have room for growth here and there, but, we're all beautiful souls inside. And I do tend to judge people more on the inside than the outside. However, I always put this disclaimer out there, if someone wants to date me, there has to be a chemistry when I meet you. Okay, if the chemistry isn't there, I'm not like vibing it. I know, that relationship's not going to happen, but I can be your friend. Okay, that's the hard part that I've had with most people, and why I ended up with stalkers is because they wanted more than friendship. And and sometimes you have to cut people out of your life because they're just not comprehending the message that you're giving them. And some people can be very pushy, and unfortunately, maybe they need to do some inner reflecting to see why they feel they need that relationship that badly enough to try to scare somebody into it. You won't scare me into a relationship. Never going to happen. I've got enough self-confidence and self-worth to know that you're not going to force me in anything beyond my will. I'm fight, kick, and scream. I have to. But anyway, over the course of time, I've had 4 serious stalkers. I've had little ones here and there, but they kind of dwindled away within a week or two, so that's reasonable. I get it. You had your hopes high for something, and it takes a little while to disband that, and that's fine. If it's somebody that I think is a bad influence on me, or not ready to really be my friend, or they don't fit in my environment because maybe drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, something like that, I will block. and disband myself because I just am not going to let that become a regular norm in my life. Because if I do, then I start thinking it's okay to do those things. And I'm not going to allow those people to sway me by their behavior and allow that into my life, unfortunately. And so anyone who knows that if you date me, you can be a social drinker. I don't care about that. No drugs. Okay, I'm not against marijuana. I I don't know anyone who doesn't do it. I don't do it. Okay, I've tried it 4 times in my life. Which you'll hear in the drug video, but um, never seemed to affect me, which I'm happy. I'm happy for that. I've been able to steer clear of all of that. Never tried any other drugs, and gambling. I have no interest. I've gone here and there, and within 5 minutes, I'm bored. So I'm not a gambler. Buying even a lottery ticket is going above and beyond for me. I was a sex addict, and we're gonna get into that. That's gonna be probably a little graphic, but I've been able to wean myself from that addiction, and I'm quite happy with myself with that. So, but back to our stalkers. Um, the first stalker I had was when I was probably about 19 years old. My mother worked at this cattle auction place, whatever you want to call it, livestock auction. And I would go there sometimes after work or after school. Well, it was after work. And of course, it's all men, almost all men. But she worked in the office with a couple ladies, and they also had like a cafeteria thing there, so you could go get something to eat. And I had worked in a town that I could go through that town home, and so I would sometimes stop. And when I would stop, I would go. I thought, the auctions were kind of cool. I was raised in the country around farmers, and we helped out, the farmers with some stuff, but I wasn't raised on a direct farm. So, it was just neat to see. But, got to know some of the guys. Most of the guys were much older than me, much older. There were a couple that I thought, attractive, young girls, when you're that age, yeah, these older men you are attracted to them. There's no doubt about it. I did. And at 19 was with a lot of men in their 40s and 50s. No doubt about it. Did I ever think any of them were going to be real relationships? No. No, it was just a runaround flingy kind of thing with these men. So there's nothing serious. But there was this man who was around in his 60s. And I went to school with his kids. I think he even graduated with one of his nieces. I don't know if it was his daughter or his niece. I think it was his niece. I knew his son really well. His son was a year or two older than me. And we didn't hang in the same crowd or anything, so we weren't that close, but I knew these kids. And so, of course, we had something to talk about. And next thing I knew, I lived with my parents at the time, keep that in mind. And he would call the house and he would ask for me and talk to me. And my mom was like, what does he want to talk to you about? Why is he calling? Well, she knew him from work, right? And I'm like, I don't know. He's just calling to talk. I wasn't interested in him at all. So then, finally it's like, well, I think you should stop calling me. This is a little weird. I know your kids, and he was married, I was like, and I wasn't into married men at that time at all, even though I did later have an affair with a married man like a year later, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, he wasn't getting the hint that I didn't want to talk to him anymore. And, just kept, so I had to stop going to the livestock place because he would just cling to me, like I was his girlfriend or something. And it was just creepy, weird, and I wasn't interested in him in any way, shape, or form. And then, so then the other guys that were there too got this vibe that I was some kind of like slut, I guess. I think they thought I was sleeping with him. And that got creepy. So then I stopped going there. And then, he wouldn't stop calling the house. Finally, my mother got on the phone and told him to stop, or she was going to call the cops. Just leave my daughter alone. Don't make me bring this up at work. This is sick. You're an old man. Leave her alone. It kind of faded off, but every once in a while there were some phone calls. And this is back when the phones were on the wall, and you had to buy the super long cord to even go into the next room. So you could pretty much, you didn't have caller ID or anything, but I pretty much knew it was him, calling. But eventually, within a year, everything phased out. So that stalker wasn't as creepy, but when you're a young girl going through that and the guy won't leave you alone, it's tough. You get scared, and you kind of are nervous about future relationships because you don't want to lead people on or even be friendly because they cling to you like glue. And it's like, no, 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 you're taking this in the wrong direction, dude. I'm talking to you because I'm a friendly, nice person, and you know, I don't like you that way. But so that was, learning that right off the bat was probably a really good thing. And the second stalker that I had was, oh, it must have been in my early to mid 20s. And I was married at the time, and my mother and my sister had gotten into a big fight. They had gotten into some awful fights where I lived a half an hour away, but I'd have to drive to the house and calm them down. Um, I was the workhorse. I was the black sheep in the family, so to speak. When I left, um, a lot was put on my sister, and she had already been so spoiled that there was a lot of defiance there. So it was not a good environment. She was fighting back against my mom, where I was very compliant with my mother. And one time I remember getting a phone call, um, and I don't know if it was my mother or my sister that called, but they said, they were having this big argument, and that my sister had taken knives from the butcher block and threw them across the room at my mother, where she had to use a chair to defend herself. I said, I will be right there. No, they're going to kill each other, literally going to kill each other. So I had to go, diffuse that whole situation. Well, my sister and parents, my dad had been home. He's a truck driver, which I mentioned a couple times before. He had been home that weekend, and they got into this big fight. My sister was seeing this young man, and they didn't like him at all. So they were trying to keep her from seeing him the same way they would try to tell me I couldn't go on dates with people. She was 19 or 20 at the time, I believe, same age I was when they refused to let me, date people. And I thought, oh, I knew how she felt. I knew that she wanted her freedom. She wanted to be able to date who she wanted to date and move on with her life. But so I agreed. She had called me, and I agreed to go down and pick her up and bring her to my house where she could live with me if she wanted to. Which, when I went to pick her up, then my parents said they had been gone, and they, before we left, they came home, and oh my gosh, my father said, "This is it. My relationship with you is done. If you take her off his property." And well, I did. I said, "No, if she wants to go, she has the right to go. This doesn't have to be like this," but it was. And unfortunately, nothing ever changed between me and my father after that moment. It was hatred, pure hatred from that moment forward. And we had some stuff in the past prior to that fueled the flames, and that set the fire. But anyway, so she was living with me, and as soon as she moved in, we started getting these really random calls from men. And I kind of always wondered if my mother or father were behind that to try to scare us. But anyway, my sister would talk to these random people, and then I'd get on the phone, talk to them. Finally, I'd be like, "Do you know who you're talking to?" And then they'd say my name. I go, "Okay, well, they know they're calling this house." I thought at first they were calling to talk to my sister, but they didn't even know who my sister was, apparently. So, um, needless to say, during the course of that time too, my sister got pregnant with her boyfriend's baby, and that didn't work out good at all. And of course, then my parents threw that at me and said, "See, we're trying to stop that from happening. Like, you're not going to stop something from happening that they want to happen. It was going to happen anyway. You can't stop people from. You can't save them from themselves. Sometimes you have to give them um, just enough rope to go in and do what they got to do. I mean, she was going to do it no matter what." So, but anyway, back to the stalker. So eventually, then the stalker was only talking to me on the phone. And at first, this person was a regular person, so I didn't mind talking to them. But then it got to the point where they were, I'd be like, "I gotta go." And they would start saying really freaky stuff about putting me to bed and how they were going to do it, and the sheets and touching me. And I was like, "Okay, bye," click. But then they keep calling. But then when they called, it wasn't conversation anymore. It was always this sexual stuff that they would just say, like these fantasies that they were trying to live. And I let it go for a couple minutes, and then I just hang up the phone. Finally, I did call the police, and I says, okay, I've told this person to stop calling, and they won't. And I don't know what to do about this. So they did put a trace on the phone, and we had nothing for about a month. And then it was Thanksgiving Day, and we were getting ready to go to my grandmother's house, and just like that, the phone rang. And I answered the phone, and it was this creepy guy. And I'm telling him on the phone, I says, here's the deal, dude. Tell me who you are, and I won't call the police, but this phone has a trace on it. I'll have them trace it. I said, however, if you tell me who you are, I'll just let it go. And I'm a person of my word. I would have just let it go. Ended up, it's like the guy didn't believe me really. Then he kind of did and hung up, and I did call the police. They were able to trace it, and they did go talk to this person. They would not tell me who my stalker was. So again, another situation in my past where police are protecting the criminal and not the victim. Because if you know who this person is, you can protect yourself by staying clear of them. When you don't, you're constantly their victim because you don't know who they are. So I don't know, again, if this had something to do with my family. Maybe my brother was making the calls or something for my mom because they were really close. I don't know. I'm not. It's speculation. But that day at my grandmother's house for Thanksgiving, there was a truce between me and my mother that my grandmother insisted on. And the calls did stop. But I think the calls did stop because the police went and talked to this person too. So could be two totally different things. But never heard from this weirdo again. But that was freaky too, because these calls would be late at night, you're in bed, now you can't sleep, because you don't know who this person is, if they're watching you, what's going on. So it leaves a lot of paranoia in you. But anyway, then my third stalker was probably about within 5 years of that one. So I wasn't, no, maybe I was around 30 at that time, maybe about 5 years. And this person never called me, never came to the house, but I'd see this van outside the house quite frequently. And it was before like cell phones and you had cameras really to take pictures and stuff. But I was noting, the dates and times. And it was always the same. It looked like the same guy in the van, but I could never get close enough to really get a good description of this van. And then all of a sudden one day I came home from work and there was a bra on my door. And I freaked out, went to the place. I'm like, okay, this person has now come to the door. And I'm drawing the line here because I don't know who's sitting outside my home watching me. But they were parked always right in front of my house. And, the police, nothing ever happened. They never came back. Nothing ever happened. Well, I don't know what happened with the guy in the van. And I can't even really confirm I was being stalked because about 2 or 3 years later, that whole bra thing came up at a family gathering of my husband's. And his brother, if you've watched my previous videos, it was the one that, one, defended me in the physical abuse, and two, was the one that I had the crush on when I first met my husband, which was his brother, who I never said I had a crush on him. If he watches, he'll know. But anyway, we're good friends now, so no crush anymore. But anyway, they had gone to this garage sale and bought this box of random stuff, and there was this bra that was, for a larger cup size. And like I've always said, I'm well endowed, in the upper region. So they thought it was funny because I was the only one in the family who had a large chest. So they put the bra on my door going, maybe you could use it. I'm just like, oh, please. You guys did that. So I don't even know. I can't even confirm that number 3 was a stalker because I don't really know if that van was there to watch me, kind of paranoia. But it was weird, very weird. And because he'd sit there for hours, never get out of the van, never do anything, just sit there. And, but, the bra, I can say, wasn't my stalker coming to the house. It was my brother-in-law at the time, playing a prank, I guess, of some sort. Don't know why he never told me, because it was kind of freaky. I did yell at him for that, though. I said, don't ever do that again. That That scared the crap out of me. Okay. Now I'm a lot braver now. You do that to me now, I'd laugh. I'd be like, whatever, somebody's psycho. Keep moving on. But my fourth one, which is what really prompted this whole video, was just last year in 2020. Um, I had done some online dating from December of 2019 when my divorce was final to probably February of 2020. Um, I decided to try to online date. And the last guy that I met, um, we had talked several times on the phone. He seemed like a gentleman, a nice guy, a Christian. And I was like, okay, I'll agree to meet you. So, and I'm always nervous meeting people for the first time, especially after I've talked to them, even though everything feels normal and feels good. Um, I'm just nervous because I don't know if I'm gonna meet up to their expectations. They're gonna meet up to mine. That kind of thing. I think. But I thought, well, worst case scenario, I told them, let's put no expectations on this, but let's be friends. The only thing we agreed on is we were gonna meet in a park, and after that, if things went well, I might go to his place and watch a movie. Okay, depending on how it went. I never agreed to anything. Um, because it's not real normal for me to just go to somebody's house first time I meet them, right? So I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm gonna really do that, but whatever, we'll see. And so we meet at the park and we're talking, and it's talking like on the phone, and I can tell we're just friends. There's no chemistry for me. I do not feel butterflies. I do not feel dating, nothing. But I'm like, this guy's a really nice guy to talk to, and he can be a friend. I didn't tell him that at that point, but when we got to my vehicle, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go, and I did have a sick cat at home, and she had been through quite a few issues, and I was like, maybe I should, go home and check on my cat. I definitely don't want to go watch this movie because I don't want to give him the wrong impression that I'm interested in that way, and doing that would tell him that maybe. So I get to my vehicle and I'm like, well, I really should go. I have my cat at home. I should go check on her and stuff. And he goes, well, I thought you were going to come to my place for a movie. And I says, well, I really shouldn't. I've got other things I've really got to get done. And just like that, he pinned me up against my vehicle and kissed me. And I was like, well, I didn't kiss him back necessarily, but I didn't stop him either. I was kind of in shock. I'm not gonna say he was a bad kisser. He was a good kisser, but that doesn't matter. I mean, that's not gonna sway me, for goodness sakes. I mean, I didn't feel it. I'm sorry. You can't force me into something and think that that's gonna change everything. It's not gonna change anything. And I'll tell you, he was a great kisser. It changed nothing. Okay. But so then he finishes kissing me and he pulls away, and I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta go. And I like open my vehicle. I mean, I ran. I was like bolted out of there. And I thought, oh, I'm never getting together with him again. But I mean, we can be friends, but there's going to have to be a distance here because clearly I'm going to have a talk with him. But I wasn't ready to have that talk at that time because I could tell he was very into me. And one, I don't want to hurt people. So I was like, I'll let this down slowly. We'll still talk on the phone as friends, but I'm not probably ever going to meet up with him again. But I'll do this slowly so his heart isn't all broke at one time. I had a little compassion there. But anyway, then that night, I believe I did either that night or it was the next day, I think. I ended up taking my cat to the vet. I was very concerned, about her well-being, and luckily she didn't need meds, and she did end up needing a dental surgery. She had some dental issues, which I knew about before, and this is like her third surgery, so it really wasn't a surprise to me. But now I'm gonna use my phone, okay? Because from this point, the text messaging got weird. And it wasn't just text messaging, it gets worse after this. Okay. So this happened let me check the date here. No, it's not going to give me a date. Well, it does further up, but I'm not going to go all the way back there. But anyway, this was, it had to be like in February, March, or April or something of 2020 that this actually took place. Yeah, that wasn't February, because that's when I broke up with my boyfriend. So it had to be like April. So I've been talking to this guy for quite some time because I quit meeting guys by February 1st of 2020. So we had talked for months. This wasn't. I'm not a quickie. You're not just gonna talk to me one day and meet me tomorrow. Um, I like to take my time. I really like to get to know people. So anyway, um, so here's how it kind of went right after I left. So at 8:50 that night, he messaged me. He goes, "You're an absolutely beautiful lady, and I can't wait to see you again." So he wasn't ugly. Okay, he was a handsome man. You know, the chemistry just wasn't there. You know, I don't want to say I'm picky. Um, I have to feel something. I just do. If I don't feel it, it's a no go. It's done. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. But so I message him back. Oh, you're a very handsome man. I look forward to spending more time with you. Thank you. Again, letting him down slowly. Don't want to like crush him. And I didn't know yet if our friendship would lead to us possibly spending time together in person or just talking on the phone. I, I'm not going to make a quick judgment call on that, but I knew at that point we were only going to be friends. So I'm not going to like make a quick snap decision on anything. So then he messaged me later that night, about an hour later, "Hey, would you like to talk?" Well, I didn't reply back at all that night. The next day at about 1 in the afternoon, which was a Sunday, he messaged, "How's it going today?" And I didn't reply. I was at the vet's office, okay, dealing with my cat, which took endless hours. And then at 7 o'clock that night, he said, "Did I do something wrong?" I messaged him back that time, and I said, "No, haven't done anything today. Just exhausted and don't know why." I didn't feel like, letting him in my personal space anymore, primarily because he pushed that kiss on me. So I was trying to distance myself. And at 7:30 that night, he said, "Are you available to talk in about a half hour?" And then I replied back, "Depends on how my cat's doing." But it did. Okay, but again, I'm still trying to distance myself. And then about 8 o'clock that night, he said, "Okay, well, please call me if you can. Anytime now is fine." So I don't respond to his texts. I don't call him. Monday, the next day, um, actually, it was actually 1:25 in the morning, Monday morning. So it's late night, early morning, however you want to look at it. I just messaged. I said, "I just got home from the vet. It's going to be a very long day." And I was at the vet for endless hours. Like I said, she needed surgery. And he replied back about a half an hour later saying, "I hope your cat is doing better." Very nice guy. Like I said, I had no complaints, with who he was up to that point. Finally, like then that night at 11 o'clock that night, so like almost the whole day had passed. I wrote to him. I said, "She is starting to. My ex showed up, full support at the vet office," which he did. He had called me, found out I was at the vet's office, and he just chose to show up there. My ex-boyfriend from a couple months prior. And then I said, "Then came by to get the ring I had." He spent about an hour ripping me apart, which he did. But I did have a ring that he had given me that I told him I would hold on to it until, we could meet again. But he was ripping me apart because I wasn't being responsive to getting back together with him. Which he, like I said, I don't make quick decisions. And when he was kind of presenting that to me, I was like, I need time to think about this. And let's see if we can talk and be friends before we just jump back into the relationship. We broke up for a reason. So he was ripping me apart because of that, because I wouldn't just, "Yeah, I'll be your girlfriend again." Anyway, back to the text. I said, "Please don't take this personal, but after the way the last few guys have treated me, I'm practically suicidal and can't take it anymore. I'm not going to be seeing anyone for a very long time." And truly, I was like, I'm done with this game, this dating game, it was like I was so depressed with it. It was really getting on my nerves. And you'll see some online dating stories that I'm going to share with you. You're going to go, "I can't believe these creepos did this stuff." I mean, it was crazy. And I was like, I think I'm done with this, and I don't even want to get back to it with my ex, and I just need space. So he messages me back within minutes, and he says, "You were supposed to put my heart back together again, not break the pieces to bits. Please don't go." The guilt trip. You're supposed to fix my heart. You're supposed to be the one. One, we can't fix each other. Two, don't ever count on somebody being the one and being codependent on them to bring you happiness. find happiness inside of you. Because then now I have to play, on these guilt feelings of, okay, this is it. I broke his heart. He's torn, and I was going through my own emotional battle. The last thing I needed was to have to feel guilty for hurting somebody that I couldn't see a physical relationship with. Anyway, he sends me, I don't respond. He sends me a song, which I still to this day haven't listened to. And finally, the next day at 11 o'clock at night, this is not Wednesday, so this all started, we met on Saturday. This is the Wednesday after. He messages me and says, I'm fine, but I got to admit I was pretty hurt bad. You spent about 2 weeks telling me on the phone how wonderful of a man I am. And I probably did. He is. I mean, there was nothing wrong with him till he stalked me. Then he said, we make plans to meet at the park on Saturday and come over to my house after that. I spent the entire day cleaning the inside of my house. Well, first of all, I'm not responsible if you have to clean your house all day. Your house is that dirty, you have to clean it all day. I'm sorry. That's your problem, not mine. Forgive me, I had to interject that there. But anyway, hoping it would be good enough for you. And you don't have to do anything special to be good enough for me. Stop doing that for people. If they don't like you or where you live or what you have, they're not worth being in your life. Okay? They're going to judge you right off the bat on what you have and how you live instead of who you are as a soul. And that's warning red flag number 1. Okay? That's just a piece of advice I'm going to give you that I learned the hard way. Anyway, hoping it would be good enough for you to hope you say no because the temptation to jump in the sack was too great. And I admit the way we were kissing, it probably would have happened. We did have a phone call in there, I should say, where I said, it's too tempting. He knew I was a sex addict. And I said, it's too tempting to go to people's houses and have sex. And was it an excuse? Kind of, but it's also the truth for me. Okay. Meeting somebody right away and going to their home, if the chemistry is there and I'm interested in you, there's no doubt I'm going to have sex and it's going to last for days on end. That's part of my addiction. And it's kind of like when a druggie gets a high and they have to take their drugs for a week or two, and they can't get rid of that euphoric feeling the drug is giving them. If I go into a relationship like that, that was my drug. So it would be days and days and days me getting that high off of that sexual orgasm. Okay. And I had that conversation with him about it's too tempting to go to a man's house. I'm trying to break myself from that. And I'm not going to, for example, if I'm an alcoholic and it's only been a couple months since I've had alcohol, I'm not going to, the first thing I do is run into a bar. The temptation's too strong. So that had been discussed. And then I didn't reply to that text. About 15 minutes after that, he texted back again. And by this point on the phone, I had told him I'm not interested in a relationship with him. I didn't text it. I told him, and which is, I think, the proper thing to do. But anyway, he texts again. He says, well, it felt nice and beautiful looking back. It was inappropriate and it shouldn't have happened. He's talking about kissing me. Yes, I mean, not that quickly. Then we make plans to meet on Sunday and you ignore me all day. When I asked if we can talk on the phone, you say depends on how my cat feels. Well, that made me feel small, and I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make him feel small. And I don't mean to make excuses. I handled it poorly. I should have been forthright and honest and owned my truth, like I do now. But at that time, I thought letting him down gently was the right thing to do. Again, just don't do that to people. Be forthright. Be honest. I was going to break his heart right away. It was better than this slow agony that, he might have been going through, and I wasn't considerate of that. So I do apologize immensely for that, and I'm not making excuses for my behavior. But anyway, he says, I have wondered if you've been spending time with your ex-boyfriend, blank, I won't say his name, who looks a lot like, this cracked me up, he looks a lot like Meth Head meets Michelin Man. I'm going to pause here. I do not think my ex-boyfriend looked like Meth Head meets Michelin Man. He's not a round guy at all. He doesn't look like a meth like the faces and the acne and stuff, or the scars that meth addicts have. I'm like, he was a heavy metal rocker. He looked like a heavy metal rocker. But regardless, how do you know? My first thoughts, how do you know what my ex boyfriend even looks like? You've never met him. You don't know where I live. You've never met him. We've never talked enough about it. Me and him weren't Facebook friends. I'm like, I'm very perplexed on how you know what my ex boyfriend might look like. And at this point, I'm upset. You have judged somebody in front of me, and you have no right to do that. I don't care how hurt you are. And he was my ex, and we never got back together. And I wouldn't say he was the greatest guy. He did some really awful things. I'm still not going to let somebody call him names. Okay? I'm not going to take that boat where, oh, yeah, he is. He was really crappy. No, he was crappy to me. And maybe, that would be the typical thing to do, but I still won't. I'll defend him if I see somebody's saying something that's completely untrue and unwarranted and mean just to be mean. And that's really what that was to me when I read it. But it goes on. It gets worse. Well, we've been talking, like when you kind of disappeared the weekend between the 2 weeks we talked and gave me this bizarre story about conjuring up spirits. And by the way, there was a 2 week period where we didn't talk because I was helping a friend through my mediumship who had lost somebody, and they kind of wanted to know, was it murder or suicide? Because it was deemed a suicide, but there was questionable murder things. And so I was gone for 2 weeks, out of state, working with these people in this case. Okay. And I'm not going to go too much into the stuff I do or had done with my mediumship because I don't really do it anymore. But I've helped a lot of people with some stuff, and that's really what was going on. But of course, he thinks I'm making up some big excuse. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Maybe I shouldn't pick on someone when they're not here to defend themselves. Let's talk about my ex. But the point is, you can do better. Yeah, I know. Yeah, tell me that. I'm sorry. That's too conceited. But yeah, I could do better. He says, I wonder where you went Saturday night after our little makeout session at the park. I gotta stop there. At this point, I'm going, you were spending way too much time sitting around wondering what I'm doing every second of the day. And going back and wondering what I was doing every second of the time that we were just talking, being friends. And this is really creeping me out. Because I'm like, whoa, I've been involved in some serious relationships with people, and I don't sit around. I can be with a guy, and at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, we'd be living together. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he says he's going to the grocery store. And I'm like, okay, great. We need that stuff for supper. And he comes home 8 hours later. And I might say, well, you were gone a long time. What'd you do all day? And he'll just tell me, oh, I stopped at a friend's house, or I did this, or I did that. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's make dinner. I'm not literally sitting there all day long wondering where he is or hunting him down. Or it's like sometimes people just have, even when you're living with somebody or married to them, you have to allow the other person to have a bit of their own life. You don't own them. And granted, yeah, that's how people cheat. But if you don't give them enough freedom to cheat, you'll never know if they are a cheater. If you're constantly tracking them down, you're keeping them from cheating. But how long do you think that's going to last? How long can you really do that and be happy with it? They're going to cheat, let them cheat right away. Let them do it. Find out they're going to do it, and then go on your own way. You didn't waste any more life. Okay? That's just a little piece of advice I'm going to give you, because I see too many people in relationships stalking the person they're with. And I don't think that's healthy at all. So anyway, I'm freaked out that this guy's, just thinking and thinking and thinking about what I'm doing, where I'm at, and we're clearly not going to be in a relationship. So you can stop thinking about it. Move on. There's got to be something else in your life to do. But anyway, he goes, I wonder what you were doing all day Sunday. Again, a weekend that you're ignoring me. Then you'll tell me your ex-boyfriend shows up at the vet hospital in the middle of the night for support. You must have called him and asked him to come. Why didn't you call me? Well, no, I didn't call him. He called me. I was at the vet's office when I was talking to him, and he chose to come. Why didn't I call you? Because I didn't call anybody. I was at the vet's office with my cat. I was worried my cat was going to die. Okay? Why didn't I call you? I'm not in a relationship with you. We're not even that close of friends. So you can see how this man has already like made me his wife. Basically, I mean, this message is freaky. He goes on, and then you invite him over to pick up his ring. Yeah. Great time, and it's the last time I'm going to probably see him. So since you're here, let's go get your ring and call this done. To me, that made sense. I don't know why it wouldn't to somebody else. Why would you want me to see him again at a later date? Give him the ring. But whatever. And it's because for some reason, pick up his ring because for some reason it's so damned important that you give it back to him. I'll comment on that in a moment. Because whenever I've had to break up with a girlfriend, anything she gave me flew out the window at 65 miles per hour. You say he spent about an hour ripping you apart and that I'm not supposed to take it personal, but because of the way guys have been treating you, you're not going to be seeing anyone for a very long time. That really hurt me. Thanks for considering me in all of this. I'm hurt because of how I'm being treated, and I think I should be treated better, and so I want to take a break. I'm sorry you got hurt. But if you really cared about me, you would go, well, that's probably a healthy choice. Yes, maybe you should take a break. If you're hurting that bad that you're almost, which I said, suicidal, you probably should go figure that out. No, I hurt him. He's hurt. How dare I do that and take a break in my own life? Do you see what people do to try to manipulate people into relationships? And I don't tolerate this. This is a laughing joke to me. I'm sorry if people want to judge me and say I'm being mean about it. You don't manipulate people like this. If he really cared about me, he would have cared that I needed that break. That would have been first and foremost. Two, he's not a very nice guy if he's just going to take everything and throw it away. That ring wasn't mine. I had no right to do anything but give it back to this person. If they said they didn't want it back and I would choose to throw it away, then that's my choice. He never said he didn't want it back. I offered it back to him. He wanted it back. The rightful and respectful things to do is to give it to him. The fact that you would just throw things out of the window at 65 miles per hour, you need some self-reflection, mister. I'm sorry, but that's not the right way to handle that kind of situation. This is just mean. Now, I am trying to remember how hurt his feelings are. But even when your feelings are hurt, this is no way to respond to this stuff. This whole thing had mental issues written all over it that freaked me out really bad. So I thought, oh gosh, I just got myself involved with a nutcase, who thinks he owns me already, and we just met in a park for a half an hour. That's crazy stuff to me. I mean, I can meet somebody tomorrow. We can be going on dates, liking each other, and not even choose to be in a relationship for a year. There's no reason to rush everything. You get to know the person inside out, backwards, forwards, everything before you are going to know whether that person fits in your life 24/7 every day. And I think there's kind of an issue in society with that. Like we need to be with someone. We can't be alone. And then we end up with this. And I'm sorry, but I'm happy alone. Like I've often said, if I'm alone the rest of my life, I don't care. I've got Jesus. And I'm content with that. I want someone who's on my level. Not someone that I have to fix. That person, and I can't fix them. I can't fix this. This is something he needs to go look in the mirror and fix himself. Why is he so desperate? This is desperation screaming. out at me. But anyway, we'll go on. And I am sorry, I don't mean to, this is just the example I have. This person personally, I'm not trying to tear apart. That's why there's no names. Very, I don't even think anyone would even know who I'm talking about except one or two people who already know the whole thing. And they're not judging this person either. So, hopefully this person gets the help they need and grows. But like I said, this message isn't even the worst of it. It gets worse. But I'm only ripping this message apart because if somebody else is going through this, hopefully you can see these red flags. And you go, whoa, yeah, that right. That does sound like desperation. That does sound like loneliness. And I don't want to be with somebody who's desperate. If you're desperate, you're not being with me because you love me. You need me somehow. I want to be with somebody. I won't be with anybody that I need. If I need somebody, that's a point where I'm not dating anybody because I need to satisfy myself and my own life before I'm good for anybody. If I'm with somebody, it's because I want to be with them and they want to be with me. Want versus need in relationships is one of the most important things that is going to keep your relationship alive because you wanted to be together, not because you needed each other. So I just want to take one moment to explain that. Anyway, you're punishing me because of what others have done to you. I would have treated you like a queen. Every day, I would have looked for new ways to love you. I would have swept the way clear in front of you while worshiping the ground you've walked on behind you. You're a Christian, huh? This is what I find in most guys who claim they're Christian. A true Christian wouldn't do that. They would find different ways to love me every day. They're not going to worship the ground I walk on because the only person you worship is Christ. God. No one before him. I don't want a man who's going to worship me. I am a very independent person. I'm not codependent at all. I count on nobody for nothing except for God. And if he knew me at all, through any of our conversations, he knew that. You don't need to do that to make me happy or to make the relationship with me work. I think that's okay, a romantic cliche. Well, I'm not going to fall for that dumb romanticism. I mean, I like romance, yeah, but in a different way, not like this. And clearly, what he's saying is not something he can fulfill every day. That is not a promise that you can make to somebody and actually do it every day. But he's trying to rope me back in like I'm desperate and oh my gosh, yeah, he would have loved me that much every day. Oh, he would have, oh my gosh, I have to go back to, I have to, oh my gosh, what am I doing? The stupidest thing I ever did was not see this guy again. No. No. But it works on some. And so people do it. And no, not with me. As a Christian, I was a little shiver up my spine when I saw that. Because that's the you use the word worship. That's really bad as a Christian. You don't worship me, please don't. No. I'm not worth worshiping. I'm going to tell you that much right now. I'm definitely not worth that. Okay. But he goes on. Maybe you don't believe me, and maybe it's because you've never truly been loved. I'm not saying this to try to hurt you. I'm taking time out of my life to tell you these things because I happen to care about you. As a human being and hopefully a brother in Christ. Yeah, I'm always a brother in Christ. It was just worshiping ground that I walked on. I wish only the best for you and a wonderful life full of peace, love, and contentment. But I can guarantee you will never have it if you keep throwing it away. He's going to guarantee me I'm never going to have it if I keep throwing it away. Well, mister, you weren't my peace, love, and contentment. As a matter of fact, you just freaked me out. And there wasn't one thing he said in that letter that was going to convince me I was making a mistake. There were so many red flags there. I was like, thank God there was no chemistry. I am thankful to God. Again, God swooped in because I really thought I liked this guy. I really did when we were talking, thinking that there could be something there. When I met him, there was nothing. And like I've said, I'm guided by my intuition, my inner spark. And there was nothing. I don't think I've met anybody where it was that empty. That was God saying, no, 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 this one's not for you. Not this one. And I don't think I threw anything away. But I think I've pretty much told you already my response. So I'm just going to try to read this without commentary. But here was my text response. I have been patiently waiting and contemplating how to tell you that I'm not ready for a relationship except with Christ. I have to say I'm very disappointed in your last correspondence in how you judged my ex. You don't know him, and it shouldn't matter what he looks like. Of all people, I would think that you know it's what's inside that matters. I didn't fall in love with his looks. I fell in love with the man he was when we met. Circumstances evolved that changed him slightly, and he's not who he was, but he is still a decent man. Also, though it's none of your business, he called me and came to the vet after I got there. The ring is special to him and his property. I don't let anger control my actions, so I kept it and gave it back to him. It was his property, not mine. I'm respectful. Please continue on your journey and leave me alone. Thank you kindly. Now, I'm willing to listen to the comments, critique and tear apart what I said. But I think it was bold, I think it was honest, and I think it was forthright. And I wasn't going to continue this, woe me, you need to be with me, desperation of this human being. He did reply one more time, which I did not reply back to. That was the last thing I ever said to him. His reply back, if I may correspond one last time. Just to clear things up, I only said that about Mr. Blank's appearance to draw a response out of you. Call me sneaky, but it's a means of communication. I perfected over 15 years of marriage, as I could never get a straight answer out of my wife. So now he is telling me, well, I set you up. I needed to know if you were going to do what my ex-wife did to me. And you did. We're not in a relationship. And I'm not your ex-wife. And right there was the biggest red flag I needed to see, was if I'm in a relationship with you, I have to pay for everything you went through in your ex-marriage. Oh, no. If you haven't washed that slate clean and you're not giving me a fresh start, you're going to judge me on everything this woman has done to you, we're going to have problems. Lots of problems. That's why I say don't go from one relationship right into another. You got to clean that slate. You got to get rid of all your anger and anguish and frustration and sadness and disappointment from your previous relationship, or you are not going to be able to give that next person the trust and the effort and the support and the love that they deserve with a clean slate, as if nothing has ever hurt you before. And that is where we run into a lot of relationship problems. We're making people pay for what we've been through in previous relationships because we haven't taken the time to self-reflect, own our truth, and become a better person for the next relationship. We carry that baggage. Get rid of it. Throw the baggage out. It was one person, and maybe 10 people are going to treat you like shit. But number 11, don't make number 11 who's perfect pay for all that crap in the past. Okay? Then you could lose something really amazing that God actually gave to you. But then you threw it away because you're living in your past. So that right there, that was exactly what I needed to hear. To know I'm never speaking to this person can't even be my friend. I cannot be friends with them. Um, Anyway, he goes on, the bulk of your last text was a strong defense of him and showed no concern at all for the way I was made to feel. I don't care if I was defending him or not. What he was doing to him was wrong. Anyway, that tells me you are still in love with him and care nothing for me. I don't think anything in my text that I was in love with my ex. It said I was being respectful to my ex, as I am with all human beings, or at least I try to. And if I'm disrespectful, I will own it and I will apologize and I will change my ways. So this person is surface coding this so bad. Again, they're still trying very hard to convince me I'm making a mistake. Good luck with that. Anybody, good luck with that. I am a sound minded person because of the Word of God. You're going to have a really hard time convincing me I'm making a mistake by not being in a relationship with you. But anyway, to conclude his message, I needed to know, now I do. I may find his appearance a bit strange or unusual, but only because of his style. Well, you have to remember, he was a heavy metal dude. This other guy's not a heavy metal dude at all. So there's two different styles to that. So I can understand where he was thinking, oh, this guy's way over the line. You have to be in the heavy metal world to get it, I guess. There's a look. And he had it. He was known for super heavy metal his whole life. So he had the look. There is nothing wrong with him, and I'm sure he's a good man. I do regret having gone about it this way, and I hope you forgive me, which I have forgiven him. He's fully forgiven. Move on with your life. You're forgiven. Being a gentleman, I will certainly honor your request and leave you alone. But for however long I remain a single man, you should always feel free to contact me for any reason. I truly wish you all the best. Goodbye. Well, he's still a single man. Want to know how I know? One, he clearly was stalking me on Facebook, so I ended up blocking him because that's the only way he could know about my ex. How he found out where I lived, to this day, I'll never know. That's not on Facebook. I don't run around and advertise it, but he knows where I live in my apartment building. Some time had gone by, maybe 3 or 4 months, and I get, because he's blocked on my phone and everywhere I could block him, I get a phone message. And even though you're blocked on my phone, you could leave a voicemail. But if you don't leave a voicemail, I won't know you called. He leaves a voicemail. And it said this. I'm not going to play it because nobody needs to hear the sound of his voice. And like I said, I'm not here to specifically hurt any individuals or out them. So I'm not going to play the actual voicemail, but I did write it down word for word. And he said, I don't know. How did he say this? And basically, he said he moved into my building. That he's still single, moved into my building. He goes, I don't know anybody but you, and you're the same age. If you could forgive me and we could be friends, it sure would mean a lot to me. He gives me his phone number, his apartment number, and he says, I hope to hear from you soon. Goodbye. He lives in the apartment right below me. Right, well, below kitty corner across the hall, like below and across the hall. That's how close. So if I go down my stairs, I'm right next to his apartment. He can hear my comings and goings. His patio is right outside where I have to exit the building. So he can clearly see everyone that comes and goes. It's right there. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. And then he tells me he moved in. Well, he did. Part of the beginning of the message was just the apartment wasn't his choice. His other option wasn't available. I skipped that because that's just him finding a place to live and making an excuse. At that point, I went on Facebook and I said, well, I clearly got a stalker. And he's moved into my building. So now he can get past security. He's in the building. He knows the security stuff. He has a key. He's here. Okay. If that was freaky, you knew where I lived before. No, you moved right on in. Um, he's been here about a year. I'm hoping he moves. A couple times he's seen me. I went out on Facebook and I asked for suggestions. What do I do about this one? This stalker is moving right on in. Um, most people had some, my friends on Facebook were fabulous because they had some really good ideas. I did like the one about, well, contact this biker group. They'll help you. They help women and children. Well, I don't want him. I don't want his life threatened. I don't want, violence. But thank you. I mean, and I'm very appreciative that a biker group would have stepped up to the plate for me. Um, Honored. Thank you. However, decided no, that's not the route I want to take in this. And I really can't do anything with the police. He hasn't done anything to me, so I can't really put a restraining order on him. Plus, how do I restrain somebody for so many feet when they live that many feet from me? So I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Plus, the police have been such a disappointment my whole life that I tend to handle things my own way now. Like I've often said, break into my apartment, I'm going to shoot first and ask questions later. And tell the police, sorry, you should have helped me, I guess, years ago. Now you're just the cleanup crew. Every time I went to you, you just left me sit there like a sitting duck. So that sitting duck became a warrior, and you're now the cleanup crew. It's just the way it is. But it would have to be pretty bad for it to go that far. Okay, I'm not saying that I'm not a violent person at all. I try to disengage or remove myself from any kind of violence if at all possible. But so I had to find a decent way. Another person said put a man's work boots outside your door, so if he goes by, he'll see it. And I'm like, well, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. You'll think some guy's living with me, and maybe that'll scare him away. But then I'm like, no, I ended up not playing really any games. I did have one guy friend that knew about it, and this wasn't planned. I did see the guy as I was coming and going from the apartment. I just gave him the evil eye. Like, don't approach me right now. Don't come and talk to me. I've said my piece with you, and if I have to say it again, it's not going to be in nice, kind terms. I'm going to be brutally honest with you now, and you're not going to like what I have to say. So don't think you're going to manipulate me, you're going to push me, you're going to scare me into a relationship with you. This isn't going to happen. And he luckily kind of caught the look in my eyes, and he went his own way. And the few times I did see him, I would not interact with him. Oh, I stared him down. I didn't act like I was afraid of him. And I think he actually started cowering away from me. Like, I don't know. And anybody who knows me on a personal level, in my personal life, I'm 5'9", about 150, 160 exercised pounds. I've got muscle to me, not, not super fat, not super skinny. I'm that athletic girl in between that is ready to train for boxing, MMA fighting kind of girl. Kickboxing and things like that is my thing. So a lot of people, a lot of guys that end up meeting me, one of the things they do say, and I make eye contact with people, and I'm very honest and forthright. And a lot of guys will say, they'll say, well, I was interested in you years ago, but I didn't approach you. I'm like, why? I would have dated you. I'll tell them we'll meet you like years later. And they're like, you're intimidating. You're very intimidating in person. It's clear you don't need anybody. And you're very beautiful, and everything about you is right, and it's intimidating. Like, a lot of guys feel they can't measure up to what I might be expecting, but everyone's planting these seeds of weird stuff in their heads before they even try. And it's like, well, I'm only intimidating if you cross a line with me and I need to put up my barrier. I'll be intimidating that. There's no doubt about it. But other than that, I am kind and nice, and outgoing and love to know people, and I just don't take crap. Plain and simple. And I don't think anyone should, because then we have these psychos out here trying to feed your brain like you should be desperate. And I will never feel that way about myself ever again. I did, from 12 years of bullying in school, people pushing me around because I had no self worth and no self confidence in my younger years. By the time I hit 35 and 40, I built myself. I realized nobody else was going to be able to do that for me. I had to do that in myself. God, through His Word, made me the confident person I am now. And realized I don't need all these other people in my life to be satisfied, to be happy. My happiness didn't come from any of that. It came from inside of me. And I'm very content. So I guess if I intimidate people, I do. I don't know. I'm not trying to, though. But anyway, I did have a really good friend that decided, um, we went on a road trip for a weekend, kind of a concert type thing, and just really good friends. And I'm going to do a Friends with Benefits video. He was one of my friends with benefits, lives in another state, picked me up on his way through. We spent the weekend together. When he dropped me off, of course, he kissed me and stuff, and it just happened to be my stalker was outside. Now, if you knew this guy, he's what you call eye candy, and it's why he'd never be more than friends with benefits. And he does have a girlfriend, so that's now his girlfriend, completely out of everything. But at the time, we were both free and single, and just had a good weekend together. Okay. And it was back early 2020. It was before my coming to Jesus moment too. So, but so we were making out basically in the parking lot, and my stalker saw it, and this guy is what you would call eye candy, as if you had opened a Vogue magazine and saw an ad for a male cologne or male underwear, and it's a perfect guy sitting there. That's this guy, and he's also extremely wealthy and prominent in society and well known, I should say. So my stalker kind of knew and looked at that and he says, "Whoa." I think he felt at that point, he knew he was, not that it was out of his league, I would never say that. But God willing, that scared him away. I never saw him again. I know he still lives here. I once in a while hear him in the parking lot if he's talking to people that are coming to visit him, or I'll know the sound of his voice. Or I'll look out the window and I will see him. I know his vehicle is still in the parking lot, but where he used to purposely come out of his apartment when he'd see me outside, he doesn't do that anymore. Not once since he saw me with that guy. And little did I know that was going to be what scared him away. Okay, well, God works in mysterious ways. And me and this friend would have done this anyway. I mean, it wasn't like we were going out of our way to do anything, to make it look like anything. But I think he thinks I'm dating this guy yet, and he's not going to go there with this guy. No, he won't. I don't think many people would. So, but no, he was just a friend with benefits at the time. He's just a friend now, but he's in a relationship. Me and him would never be in a solid relationship just because we make good friends. But we're not relationship material with each other. We would spar, and it would end up being a really bad relationship. And we both know that. So we're just better off friends, and that's why he was just a friend with benefits. Anyway, so my stalker is still here, but I don't feel threatened or scared or anything by him. I do want to note one more thing though. One person commented on Facebook that they said, "Well, why are you telling us? Tell him." I'm going to tell you right now, word of warning: don't go talk to your stalker. That's what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to keep responding to him. He wanted me to call him on the phone. He wanted me to come down to his apartment and confront him. He wanted that interaction with me. Make no mistake about it. And I was not acknowledging him in any way, shape, or form. That bothered him. What is he going to do? So, with a lot of stalkers, though, then they'll go to the next level, next level, next level, because they want your attention. They want you. And if they can't have you, nobody else can. So, one, don't encourage them at all. Two, I would recommend going to the police. Just because I've had bad experiences doesn't mean you all will. Just go to the police, let them know, at least get a police report on it, that what's all happened and this person is now living near you. If something happens, people can help then. So don't do what I did necessarily on that. And don't take everybody's advice from Facebook. That would have been the stupidest thing for me to do, is to go see him and confront him and talk to him. Yeah, I could have been very angry. And again, I would have been angry. I don't do things in an angry manner. I didn't want to handle it that way. I didn't want to just go, why would I go to him face to face or call him and say, I've asked you to stop talking to me? Because why would the second time I tell him to stop talking to me be any different? That's not going to help. So be careful what advice you take, especially on Facebook. Needless to say, that person got blocked. Because I'm like, you would have just put me in danger. You're not even a friend to me if that's the kind of advice you have. Yeah, it was just somebody being rude, which clearly is not a friend. But we're going back to the gospel again, John, and I'm sorry, John is my favorite book of the New Testament gospel, chapter 8:44, in regards to stalkers. And I thought this was a little fitting for the topic. It says, "You are of your father the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and has nothing to do with the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies." Pretty good description of the devil. And really takes me home to own your truth before the truth owns you. The devil has no truth to give you. Matter of fact, he's going to water your seeds of lying to yourself. It's bad enough we lie to each other, but what's really bad is when you're lying to yourself. You're not owning your truth within you. As I've said many times, you don't have to own your truth publicly like I am. I'm doing it as an example. Sit down, self-reflect, and own the truth in yourself. And even if you think you're the best person on earth, I assure you, by owning your truth, there's something that can make you an even better person than you were yesterday. So I beseech of you to try. Own your truth and don't believe the father's lies of the devil. Those who are liars, their father is the devil. God's just waiting to adopt you. And he'd be more than happy. So, on that note, I'm steer clear of stalkers. Don't know how this keeps happening to me. I don't want to say to stop being nice to people, because I'm not going to let these stalkers change who I am and what I'm about in life. So I'm just going to keep trucking on. And it's really nice to know that I did have some people out there that, when I went through this, had my back. But my year sabbatical started with this stalker, because I just didn't want to encourage him by giving him something daily to look at every day. And so I'm sorry for the friends that I disappointed in the last year that couldn't connect with me through social media. But it was a necessary means to an end to show him that I'm not as accessible to him as he thinks. And I appreciate those of you who stuck it out and you were still there for me and recognized when I came back. So I love y'all. Bye.